for the Upton Zoning Board is 73 Crockett Road, also known as 74 Crockett Road. Kathy Kessel, you're looking to renovate a current deck. I think you have had the most meetings before us of anyone who was not doing large projects. So congratulations, if that's a good thing. You want to just give a committee
Do
brief
you give out
explanation
freaking
of
flyer
filling?
miles?
Yeah. We do give out lollipops if you show up in person. They're right here.
Oh,
I had a tickle. I had a tickle in my throat. You know what? It got rid of the tickle in my throat. So Kathy, you want to take a second just to explain to the board what you're doing? And Mike has pulled up the diagram.
Sure. Is Dave Wilkinson from Brenshaw Corporation, I think is there in the audience.
Yes, he is.
Can you hear me okay? I'm getting some feedback here. Is that all right?
Can hear you.
yes.
Okay, good. There's an existing deck which had to be taken down during the foundation renovation that was approved earlier. And when we rebuild it, we're looking to change the shape of it a little bit so that it aligns with where the sliding glass doors are coming out. So this is a diagram showing that the area marked A in red would be eliminated, and the areas marked C and B would be added. So total net amount that would be added is just under 74 square feet.
And if I remember, this actually pulls the deck further away from your neighbor
Yeah, that's
by
true.
4.5 feet.
Right.
You know, it for many neighbors, it's considered a good thing. Any questions of the board members? I looked at the documents. I thought the plans were pretty
The
clear.
usual question is that bring your deck any nearer to the septic tank.
Excuse me?
Septic's on the other side of the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
Bob, do you have any questions, concerns? What's the what?
The engineer on. Oh, that's probably the no disturb buffer. This is probably from the,
It's down by the lake.
oh,
Conservation.
that's probably drawn from our Concom submittal, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Eric, any questions, concerns? No. Michael, any questions, concerns? Dave, any questions, concerns? Any abutters that have any questions or concerns? Nope. Okay, I'll take a motion then. Eric, you want to give me a motion?
Yeah. I move that we approve the request for a special permit, Kathy Kessel and John Dennis for the renovation of the deck as shown as the plan on the plans submitted to the board.
Okay, all in favor? Actually, who's voting tonight? 1, 2, I think all of us are voting
Yeah.
tonight.
Is the one from the,
It's hard to have,
Doesn't look like he is.
I'm in, right? All right.
Michael,
Aye.
Bill, aye.
Aye.
Oh, he was aye.
Aye. Okay, Kathy, you're all set. The usual 20-day appeal period will apply, and I'm sure Helena will be in contact with you. Make sure that it gets recorded up at the Registry of Deeds, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, for anyone that is coming here for the 19 Glen Ave property, that one has been temporarily pulled. Request for withdrawal for tonight.
Yeah, there's a request to withdraw without prejudice.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, so the board should take a vote to grant that request to withdraw without prejudice.
That's
So
fine.
that, means that they're not denied and then it can reapply at any time. I do expect that they will reapply very soon, but new notices will go out to
Yeah.
all abutters, informing them of a new date and time. But they have withdrawn their application from consideration for tonight.
I have lots of, listen now.
May I ask what led to the request, Charles?
They have some procedural issues they need to deal with before proceeding with this board. There's a, well, I don't know how much specificity I should get into because it's not an open public hearing.
We're not supposed to talk about it unless we're in a public
Yeah,
hearing.
I can tell you, they need to, there's an issue regarding frontage that you need to deal with. They do not have the amount of frontage on that lot that is required for that zoning district.
Is there a reason why that wasn't on the original plan, so, or something that they?
That's how the plans were submitted.
So,
And this will have the advantage of resetting the clock for them, right?
there's no clock on this one.
On this one?
There's no clock on this one.
I thought it was, okay, special.
It's not a 40B.
Oh,
No, no, there's a clock on every application, on every public hearing that is open before this board. There's no advantage to delaying the start of that clock, though. It either,
I thought with being withdrawn, there is no clock.
No, when they
For us.
reapply, the clock starts again.
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So anyways, yes,
I've had trouble understanding I had trouble understanding what can you clarify was that when you talk about the clock, I.
depending on the project that comes before us, for example, the next one is a 40B. You have to make a decision or close the public hearing. Is it 6 months, Mike?
Yeah, roughly 6 months.
Roughly 6 months. So we have to make a decision in a certain amount of time. Because right now they're saying, sorry, we came to you too early. We're not ready to go. They're basically saying, let's just step back and stop. Do nothing right now until they get their issues resolved, which I don't even know if they will successfully get it resolved. But we as a board are not allowed to discuss it unless it's a hearing. We're basically going to say, come back to us later. And we just want to give them permission. But you will get notified. If you're here for that, we want to make sure you know you will get notified. We're sorry to waste your time this evening. This is not something the board's doing. It's something that the developer's doing. Yeah. Okay. Mike, want to give me a motion on this?
Sure. I move that we approve the request to withdraw the application for 19 Glen Ave without prejudice. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye, aye,
Aye.
aye. Unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, comprehensive permit for 45 Milford Street. It is waivers. And I've got-
Yes, yeah, I've been hoping to do research, few updates as well, since we last spoke. There's one question for.
Yep.
Being on a voting member, are we expecting tonight?
Yeah, I just emailed Gabe. I don't know where he is.
on the Cape. Bridge.
No, I thought Bob was on the Cape and he was gonna,
Yeah, I thought Bob was gonna,
yeah, Bob said he was gonna dial in because he was in the Cape.
but there's a,
Regardless, I think David's the only one who has missed a meeting. Is that correct? Because he's submitted a Mullen certificate.
and they can submit a
Yeah.
small too.
Yeah, I just, no, it was worth waiting a few minutes.
it's what we're really waiting for.
I don't know, my computers keep beeping like someone's trying to contact me, so.
Two members.
Getting a text.
And two members, right?
Yeah,
And I guess it's a good time to ask, is everyone a voting member or is like technically?
So that gets designated. When we take the vote, we're a 5-member board, so we've got enough here to do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah.
And the other two can do them all.
Yeah.
If necessary.
Yeah. No, not that we're
Yeah,
voting
but
tonight,
as a-
yeah.
Yeah, usually we don't specify who the voting members are until we're about ready to take the vote.
Perfect, okay, all right.
This is a legitimate.
No, they're all legitimate.
Would you like a lollipop?
Have that. I think the Mullen certificate is something that gives us a little bit of leeway.
Yeah, and I know both members here, I haven't missed the meeting, I just didn't know, it's with the
We
40.
got 4 of them. Vendors, and you are stepping in obviously tonight as the 5th. So I think, Mike, do you have any?
if for some
concern?
reason both those members were not present at the next meeting and that was the meeting that you intended on making a decision, you have 5 members here that are eligible to take action and render a decision.
Okay, good. Okay, as long as I just like everything legal, open.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. we can roll
Okay,
it tomorrow.
Huh?
Go for it. Okay.
I want to make a statement. I considered the question of Brook Street carefully after the last meeting. if one of the residents of the new development should want to walk to the town centre and suffer an accident on Milford Street, because this committee has affirmatively precluded their access to a safer alternative, I think that would reflect badly on our decision making. For risky pedestrians on Brook Street doing this, I venture to say they're lower than on Milford Street. This is particularly true for disabled pedestrians, in my view. We are stewards of responsibilities to all of the residents of Upton, present and future. Some current residents of Brook Street have expressed their objection to access from this development, but to me, the risk and the balance of equities are clear. I recommend that the developer be required to provide a paved path open to Brook Street, signed as private for use by residents only, not permitted for use by road vehicles, and accessible under ADA regulations. I'll put that for the records.
Thank you.
And I can turn that into a motion if we think of it appropriate.
I wouldn't,
We don't,
Chair, I would not
we
make
actually,
any motions at this time.
we can do a
Unless
straw,
you're taking a vote. I'm sorry,
yeah,
Mr. Chair, go
we
ahead.
can do a straw. We do not need to take a vote on this matter, but I do think we're going to lay this to rest at some point tonight. Very quickly, but I thank you for sharing that with us.
Mr. Chair, you also have just, there were abutter comments submitted on the record tonight as well.
Yeah.
From, Mr. Henderson.
Yep.
That addresses that issue, and then not specifically addressing that issue, Ann Suezo had submitted comments tonight as well for the record.
Yeah, I did read those things, and I did read what was submitted. It's, I don't think there's anything technically wrong with written them. I think it's a little bit opposite. When the fire chief was talking about access for the fire trucks, it's a very different thing than saying that pedestrian, it's a safer thing. Mr. Henderson?
I said, I recommend we require it rather than.
Yes, I think we're gonna have a little discussion. Now, we spent a great deal of time on this last week. You know how you feel. Is there anything specific that is that's significantly different than the last time we had a runaround? What's that, sir?
I think we'll take the emotions out of it and give it a record. And that's what I'd like to do. And that's why the letter I wrote deals with facts. When this board said normally as a CBA, they have a lot of latitude to go in different directions. You do a 40B and you read 40B guidance, you have very minimal things that you can require. This would require a safety issue, but which is safer. You can't, there's nobody in this room, even a traffic person, that will make a determination that it's safer on Piccadilly Street or Brook Street than Route 140. Just a minute, your police chief won't do it, so I don't see how you do it because he's not in that ability.
Here's the neat thing about being on ZBA is that we do have the opportunity to negotiate with a developer for things that we think will make the project significantly better. That's completely allowed within the scope of the 40B law. If I'm off the balance here, I use you as a check for everything. But I personally believe it's within the view of this board to make that requirement to the builder. And I think I'm going to do a little straw poll here. It's not an official vote. It's going to be a straw poll. Because we don't need an official vote on this sub matter. We don't have to have votes for every single little thing. We can do this and have a little discussion. I think everyone already knows where I stand on this.
So I finished though, the last time we just had the conversations here, we didn't look into the nuances of 40B. And, the one quote that comes right out of 40B, under 40B, local conditions must be supported by evidence contained in the record. Decisions based on documented evidences, traffic reports, engineering data, town bylaws established, applicant regulations rather than visions, assumption of behavior, opinion, or generalized comment. That's right out of the 40B guide.
Yeah,
No, Mr. Brooks, just hold on. I would like to, I'm going to give him an opportunity to speak.
Yeah,
But we're going to have I have learned from wiser individuals that we're going to let him speak.
Yeah.
I think you've made up your mind. I know I've made up my mind. I've heard a couple others. And we're just going to do a little straw poll, and we'll know what we're going to move forward. It's not going to be an argument tonight. I think that was where I agree, we don't need the emotions tonight.
I just wanted to address the context of that.
Sure, you know, let's have a general conversation here. I don't want to be offensive.
It's gonna be a short one.
I've read a lot of 40B over the last couple of weeks. That quote comes from the section concerning where the applicant can can appeal against the denial.
Correct.
Yeah, which is not the case here.
Well, it could be.
Oh, yeah, then-
You know what? I will absolutely be willing to go before any judge and say, I think it's safer for kids to walk down Brook Street than I think it's for kids to walk down State Highway. And I'm stunned, sir, that you can't take a step back and see that. Now, and
I hear you, Bill, and I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm just saying, if each one of you was in the position that I'm in, where I'm gonna have people walking 4 feet behind my garage, I bet you there's not one of you that wouldn't be in the same position as I am. I'm just.
I understand that. You know what? We had a long drag out thing last time. We're not doing that again. I think everyone here is aware of the concerns. But Mike, is it a goal of the town to have a walkable town?
Yes, it is. That's.
That is,
No bearing on that.
that is a stated goal of the town, is to have a walkable town. Whether you think I have, I'm not putting kids, moms with strollers or anyone else on 140. You can shake your head, but I would very gladly go to an appeal. You are welcome to file one. You know the law.
I gotta go with that, and.
That's fine. All right, so you're gonna,
No, I didn't mean that. I mean, I can go there, but I think the other thing you're doing is you're putting a developer in a very difficult position. He's somebody that's done 40Bs in this town.
that's right.
He's been a benefit. He's negotiated with all of us here. And the one thing we didn't want was people walking into our neighborhood. No matter where you put a sign on that, one way, it's not gonna work.
But we've discussed all that.
No,
It's-
we haven't
But Brook
discussed-
Street is a public road. It is. You're right, Mr. Loverser. This is, I think, the third time, but he's also smart enough to know that this hopefully won't be his last time, because we need, this town housing plan has, zoned for certain things.
So you can ask for this, Mr. Chairman, but if the developer doesn't give it to you, what happens then?
You know what? I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I think Mr. Loverser is a smart man. I've been very respectful with him over the years. He's been very respectful to us. And I don't think we want to cause any issues with the positive relationships that we've had in town. Now,
Well, you are, and you will. It's either him against the neighbors, or him and the ZBA.
you know what?
That's
Again, I
the way-
don't want to get into an argument. It's not us versus them. I've been very plain on where I am. Hate me. I'm completely fine with that, and you can hate all the board members that want to support this, but we don't even know the board wants that. I know what some of them want. But I'm not the board. I don't make that decision. But I am going to ask for a quick straw poll. I know where Dave is. Mike, where are you on this?
Well, I understand both sides of the argument. I'm thinking, the apartment buildings that are being built behind my house right now, if there was a right of way along my driveway.
Yep.
And there was to be a sidewalk put in there to allow people to have access, I probably wouldn't like it. But I know what it's like on 140. It's not safe. So if it's a matter of safety, I think we need to decide on this, on the side of safety for pedestrians.
Okay. No, excuse me. This is not the time for, I'm polling the board. What do you think, sir?
I'm not in favor of making a decision tonight. Personally, I lean towards requiring the access as a condition. But I understand the concerns of the neighbors. I'm willing to leave this open and to continue to hear what people have to say, as well as to hear from Mr. Lovisser on this issue. Normally, we wouldn't decide this in advance of the vote on the application. I think what we should do is provide direction to Michael in terms of what conditions should be in the draft. And when we debate the final approval, or action on this, then we should decide whether a condition requiring it goes. Until that time, though, I'm willing to continue hearing from both the neighbors and Mr. Lobosar.
Okay.
What else would you like to hear, Mr. Chairman? What other information would you like us to supply?
Whether there's anything that can be done to make this palatable to the neighborhood, whether there's any design features, anything that can be done, or whether Mr. Lobosar has any concerns about this himself.
How about Route 140? Where's the status on that? Because maybe this would close when Route 140 sidewalk was done or something, but what's the status on that? Anything?
I don't have a status on it. Through the chair, my last contact with DOT was that they added it to the pipeline, but yeah, I mean, the tip project outside your window here has already been delayed to 2029. See if it gets delayed any further. So I don't expect it, you know, they haven't even, obviously it's not even 1% design. They haven't even began on it, so.
All right,
What's the other thing? We're discussing something that's dependent on something that can happen in the future. We don't even know what's gonna happen.
Unknown time. Of an unknown time.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more open to something like, you know, what if there's a sidewalk on 140 that, you know, that we have a gate on it and the gate can be closed. But on the other hand, you know, these people are going to own that property. That property does have access to Brook Streets. Historically, cases of where we wall people in, I mean, I hate to give you the historical precedents, is it everywhere from 8 miles to Warsaw? You know, considering people undesirable and trying to wall them in has a horrible history. I'm a history buff too. But I respect Eric and his opinion, and I would say right now we know where you're leaning. We know where you're leaning. I didn't get to Bob. Do you want to save that agony since he's saying hold off for now? What would you like to jump in?
You know, I'll come on the table. I kind of agree with the neighborhood. I agree with the Hendersons. I agree with the people that live here already and pay taxes.
Yep.
I also have a concern that we're forcing something in that may or may not prove to be what we want it to be. Some of the other examples of not having, you know, Governor's Landing, we didn't put anything on that plate, but we're going to put it on the. We have no proof that Piccadilly and Grove is a safer path. And my other concerns are the idea that most of these people, just guessing, would probably go across 140 to Imperial for activities and gas and oil, whatever. And there's nothing going across that road. And I know kind of you do too, coming down that hill, especially with a fire truck, you have both feet on the pedals, pulling up on the wheel on an area that could be a much more risk for people crossing back and forth. I think, you know, we need to improve the Brook Street intersection and the crossings at Elm Street to get there. And I feel both ways. And I also struggle with the idea that if this is pushed on them and pushed on you, that what my decision will be ultimately in the vote, if it's pushed that far. I don't know, because I know right now I promote building the project, obviously, but I also see that we can't force it on everyone in a way that says it's our way only of the highway. And we don't even have evidence that this would provide the safest path. We don't know what happens if the first kid goes down Piccadilly Street and gets hit by a bus there. They're gonna say, oh, we should have done something different.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of open ends and we're forcing, and I don't agree with that.
And we're not voting on this specifically anyway.
No, but I think that it'd be wise for us to keep that in mind for the final, what we want to have. You know, we don't have to have perfect unanimity. Yes, sir.
I mean, I guess I'd just like to add that I think everyone in the room can understand this is a brutal position for me to be in. It's a very rare situation, in my opinion, where I really do have a very good relationship with the neighbors. And I obviously have a very long-standing relationship with the board. I certainly understand both sides of it. You know, I'm not gonna live there, so I never want anybody to think that I'm talking two sides of my mouth. I don't know how much it would disrupt the neighborhood or not, you know, it's just one of those things that's it's really hard. I think that clearly
the position that I would have is that if the board wasn't taking a position for doing the path, I certainly would never propose it, whether it would be better for the project or not, because I knew the neighborhood asked me not to do it. So I'm just, again, I'm
You're in an
taking
awkward,
Eric's advice. I'm just trying to walk through it just so people can.
yeah, you're in an
help me
you're in an
digest
awkward
this.
position. I don't mean being the bad guy, you know, and,
And then I don't, what I'm gonna say next is not because I'm proposing anything whatsoever. It's just that obviously I think we had always anticipated with the large project that was going on 140, that the sidewalk had to have been included, right?
Yeah.
It was no one's fault in the town. It was really the DOT situation that was overlooked. And this is not a proposal whatsoever, but I guess if for some reason it goes the direction where you guys, decide that the vote has to be with the walking path, I would at least want the ability to extinguish that path if the Route 140 took over. And I do believe I can answer the question on the, and you're right, down the road, people own property, you never know what they can do. I think I would be able to fix that one too, because I could just, there's two neighbors that split that property and, leave the easement to the water department there, and I could deed the property to the neighbors, you know what I mean? And to at least try to do the right thing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I just, I totally respect that the board that approves this type of project is your board. And I guess I'm just hoping that between the board and the neighbors, we can figure out how to make everybody happy. I'm willing to do
good
No,
luck.
Yeah, another thing that makes it difficult is that it's not as if this is a $300,000 path or something, you know what I mean? So I understand, it's not,
Yeah.
This is not about that, it's just about what's right for the neighborhood and for
I think for
the community at large.
the flexibility of some of the board members could possibly be different should 140 throw a sidewalk in. But I think that would be up to the property owners of that property to make that decision.
Which part was that, Billy?
That at that point in time, say 10 years from now, 140 does get a sidewalk, which, I mean, with the number of people that are going to be up at Governor's Landing, I can understand that would be a smart thing.
Yeah, I mean.
But that might be 10 years from now.
I could do that. I could do that when I'm telling deeds. That could be part of the deed that explains that's a temporary path, until the town, the state does the sidewalk, and then I could understand, I could work.
I think I'm gonna follow my wiser colleague here and say, why don't we put this in as part of the final discussion of the, what do you want to call it, the proper term?
Yeah,
Or
as a
condition?
condition. Yeah, as a condition. And then we can, when we get to the final stages of this, we can have a final debate on it. And until then, keep this open for any more input.
The other thing I
that
like
we
what
can.
you said is remediations.
Yeah, if there's anything that would make this tolerable, we'd love to know that.
Because I think that was where I was coming at it from the very beginning was, I mean, you look at, isn't it Amato, but I don't know what this,
Rocco Meadows.
yeah, the old Amato Farm, I don't know what
Yeah,
the new name. I mean, that has a path from the actual development out into the trails, and I know that there's, but you also were able to put in a separate path where everyone else parks at. So people aren't parking in that neighborhood, they're parking in that little parking lot. I mean, that's a genius solution. I think it tried to keep everybody happy. The people that live there will want to have access to that. But I'm gonna suggest, if it's okay with the board, that we follow Eric's lead here
I
and
just want to slightly small comment on what Service has said. When he has customers, I don't want to use the word taxpayers, that's slightly biased in it. When you have customers, they will be residents of Upton too, which is why I talked about the balance rate. That's something I want to keep in mind. We are also representing our future
yes,
residents.
yeah, and I thank you for what you wrote, and it's well written. But I'm gonna keep this place moving. The next about waivers.
Can I make one more comment?
Sure.
Here, a safety solution, that's not this. Is that in anyone's mind or can be thought of for the next meeting so that we're not completely running over kids with school bus, but at the same time, coming up with a solution of safety that's not forcing it on the people that live there. I don't know what that might be. A bridge, I don't know, but I'm just saying some other thing that might, an out that doesn't put all the pressure on everyone. Because we're kind of being said, no, this is how it's gonna be if we do it.
It's
I
hard.
don't know what other options there are, I don't know, but maybe.
Well, that's why I like, and I've started this whole process. I say, if people have specific suggestions, here's a problem. If someone had a really great solution that we all liked, we'd all jump on it. But unfortunately, that hasn't yet to present itself, maybe with your encouragement as well.
It's just, it's a,
All right. Waivers and Stantec. Who do you want to go first?
I have an update, just what we also mentioned like COMCOM, I'm gonna give the
Okay.
board know kind of what's happened and
Yep.
then our attorney is online, John Smolak, we kind of go over the waivers and through them.
Oh, Bob.
Oh, yeah, Bob's on as well.
Good.
So I can give an update, then if you want to hear from Stantec or the engineers, we go.
You go first.
Perfect, okay. So, as you guys know, our peer review, our engineer and the peer reviewers sent letters back and forth. We got our letters today. We were able to, we spent the day kind of looking over it, looking over the plans with Peter, and Peter and Dave can talk about this, there's a few flat cleanup items to go, a few different labels we have on. Good luck in our view and everything that is. One thing I just want to say, Dave, I don't know, I'm sure if Dave's familiar with it. We have been working with the Upton DPW on an LDA for the water and sewer connection, just because construction is out there, so. It's still a little different where they've been able to review like all the, everything that we're doing on all our plans while that's going in, because it's going in right now. So one thing is not under kind of Peter's purview, that's under mine, so. But that is, I'll let them speak more on that. We had a very productive meeting with Concom last week. DEP also had reviewed the plans. They had no comments. Based off Concom's request, we did add a few things. We added bounds where the wetlands are. We added some erosion control material they wanted to use. And so after, talking to the board, it was public hearing. They will, I fully expect them to have an order of conditions for before the July reflected into, the decision, but there were no kind of major changes or requests from the Concom board on that. So that's closed out now. Lastly, after talking to Mike, we're changing the lighting package. So the design stuff's always fun. We are changing it to a little more like kind of villagey and heritage.
Let me mute myself.
Yeah, that came out today. I saw all that.
Yes, yeah.
Whoever did the down lighting for, was it 137? 147, the one up by the hat factory. It's amazing driving down there. You can, I don't want to say you can't see the building, but at nighttime, it's truly stunning how little light leaves that property. Whoever did that for you, give them my compliment. Yeah, good for you, because I just trying to remember the street that's right there. And those houses just, blare, and it's stunning, the downlighting, the effect of it. So keep doing whatever that was. Okay.
Yep, so just, we're just between the new color schemes and the light package, always like we always think the projects look better at the end. Lastly, so John Smolak is on Zoom to go over the waivers. He kind of run through them. Before he does, there's one other waiver we're gonna have to request. It's not in there currently. Just because part of the LDA with the water and sewers, we are looping the water for the town. So, we're gonna ask for a 50% reduction in the water fees as well as we can discuss that later, but it's just one kind of waiver that's gonna be we're gonna request that's not currently in there.
Are these for all the units or just the low income ones?
We would prefer all the units, so.
I'm surprised the state isn't giving you a free sewer, considering what they've done to that land down there. I was stunned.
Yes.
How much is in there? I mean, have you been to by the site? It's like a full on construction yard, that I'm assuming you're letting them use for free.
It's already done. The whole
Well, it's better than having that equipment all parked along 140, because it's already in there.
So I can let John take it from here. He can kind of run through the waivers if the board wants to do that, or if you want to hear from.
I think that's a smart thing to do, guys, waivers, yeah. The other thing is, now Mike, correct me, or you can correct me too, is there's actually a extra that they went through Concom, because they don't actually have to get Concom. Or do they?
You are the local approving authority for the local bylaw.
Yeah.
So your local wetland bylaw goes through you. You're the Concom.
Oh, they did the state one?
They do
The
state.
state.
Exactly.
So there's two different standards for wetland. There's the local one, which is more stringent, and there is the state one, which is less stringent. 40Bs do not have to follow the local, they only have to follow the state. But
And we kept the local setbacks.
Good.
The project still.
yeah, well, thank you. But I just wanted to just get that clarified. Okay, why don't you have your man go through all the waivers, please?
John, you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Take it away.
You can hear me? Okay, great. For the record, John Smolak, attorney for the applicant, 45 Milford LLC. This evening, I just want to briefly summarize the waivers that were requested that you have in your materials. As you may or may not recall, I was involved on Mr. Loberser's 47 Main Street project a few years back, and so I was involved with those waivers as well. And many of the waivers that we requested in that project are very similar to the waivers we're requesting in this project, although we understand and acknowledge no two projects are alike. But just with that background, in terms of the waivers, I sort of categorize them in sort of three different groups. One is administrative, meaning, for example, under your zoning bylaws, the building inspector has the authority to issue a building permit in compliance with the zoning bylaws. And we would be modifying that zoning requirement because the board would be granting waivers so that the building inspector would enforce the zoning bylaw as modified by the waivers that the board may grant. And then there are obviously the more substantive waivers, the second category, meaning just basically waivers from setbacks, the dimensional requirements. And then lastly, what I call sort of illustrative waivers, meaning that under the 40B rules, the requirement is that we request waivers only from by right zoning requirements. And so meaning that we don't need to ask for waivers that are required by special permit. But they are included in there to illustrate what those special permit requirements are. So that's sort of as the background. And so I'll go as quickly or as slowly as you want me to go, but I'll try to summarize quickly and let anyone stop me if they have any questions on any of them. The first 3 or 4, actually 5 of the waivers are from the general bylaws. The first of which is earth removal. We've requested an earth removal waiver from the earth removal requirement, which requires a select board special permit, but earth removal would be covered by the order of conditions that is to be issued, as you heard this evening. So that's the reason we've requested the waiver, because it's already governed by that wetlands order. Second, in terms of sewer, as you know, the comprehensive permit allows the Board of Appeals to step in the shoes of any other local board. So in this circumstance, we're asking with respect to the sewer, asking the Board of Appeals to step in the shoes of the authority to issue the permit, but subject to the applicable sewer requirements. And we'll leave the issue of the fees discussion to I guess a later date for the conditions, I would imagine. And then stormwater management bylaw. That is something we're going to probably withdraw because there's an exemption whereby if the Conservation Commission has issued a order of conditions, then this bylaw does not have to be implemented for a separate permit. So we'll withdraw that one. The next is just a driveway permit, same issue as the sewer permit. The board steps in the shoes of the DPW to issue the sewer approval. And that's what we're requesting in that circumstance. The next item is the cutting of any trees in the public way. It's governed by the local tree warden, so we're asking for a waiver of that, subject to any requirements for any cutting of offsite trees. Going on to the next page, the Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. We just you just discussed that, and so we're requesting a waiver of that wetlands bylaw. And then this last item on health rules and regulations. And this is something similar to what we had requested and was granted back on the 47 Main Street project. Basically, there are certain requirements for bringing in clean fill, and I think we're requesting a waiver from those specific requirements, but providing assurances that clean fill will be brought onto the property. And just moving on to the zoning bylaws, as I mentioned, there are a number of administrative requirements under these first 3 or 4 sections on the following page, dealing with the scope of the bylaw, applicability of the bylaw, and interpretation of district boundaries. And basically, we're requesting those be got waived and governed by the comprehensive permit conditions. Following on the next page are the use regulations and actually for principal and accessory uses. And what I wanted to mention there is, as you know, which is a little bit unique, but it does happen oftentimes, that you have a zone that a lot that's split by 2 zones, the SRB and the general business district, and it makes it difficult in terms of dimensional requirements to give you specific waivers, but in terms of uses, there are specific uses allowed under SRB and the GB zone. And what we're requesting is a waiver to allow for this proposed project, the proposed project uses in terms of the 27 units to be allowed as, along with the accessory uses that are identified. And so that's what's on those 2 following pages. And then Article 4, the dimensional requirements, as I indicated, we have a lot that has a split zone. And so what we're requesting is the board's approval of waiver of certain dimensional requirements as shown on the plan. But in this circumstance, if you look at the following page, you'll see a list of dimensional requirements that we've identified and illustrate as if the entire lot is located in either the SRB or the GB district. But you see there are common waivers that we're requesting in either case, and they're related to maximum building height and number of stories, which aren't really really significantly exceeding what is otherwise required there. And so that's the description on that following page. I'm not sure who is running the slides, but I just wanted to mention those items right there. So, and then there were footnotes that apply to those dimensional requirements, but I won't get into those. Then the next item is there are performance standards for business and commercial districts, and I guess they apply because of the fact that, part of the site is within the general business district, and we're just requesting a waiver from those requirements that they're really not applicable. Next is off-street parking, where we're providing for a total of 64 parking spaces, or an average of 2.37 parking spaces per unit, which is inclusive of 10 guest parking spaces. And next is signage. As to the signs, there are separate requirements for the general business versus the SRB district. And I think that the site plans do depict an area for a location of the sign, but I understand that what we will need to do is provide a supplemental either civil or architectural plan to just show the dimensions of and the location of that of the sign or signs to be implemented, but they're going to be modest signs for that project.
Can I ask a
And,
question about that? Do you plan also a permanent sign outside the development to advertise it? Is that
What they're talking about.
a permanent sign to say this is whatever you decide to call it? Is that under our purview or is that going to be?
That's it. That's what this waiver, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And we.
I didn't understand. I was looking at the temporary signs, but okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, always good questions, and we are allowed to ask and
Yeah.
put conditions on that.
Sure.
Oh, I
And-
thought-
and that is,
Fine. Okay, sorry.
no, that's fine. It is a good question. And there is a temporary construction sign that's identified with dimensions on there. And
Yeah.
certainly subject to the board's review and comment. And beyond signage, we're into, there's a particular provision related to common driveways, which usually only apply to driveways on lots, on separate lots, but we're requesting a waiver for this requirement because the bylaw doesn't really mention that common driveways are separated by lots. So we really have a driveway, but that's that was identified as a potential waiver. And then there's the rate of development bylaw, as well as special residential regulations. These are both waivers that we had requested for 47 Main as well. And so these provisions really are requested to be waived because of the limitation on the number of units that can be constructed in certain circumstances. And then in terms of townhouses and garden style apartments, there's a bit of a discrepancy in the zoning bylaw. The table of use provisions allow for townhouses and defined garden apartments in the use table, but under 702, it does not allow them in the general business district. So we're just requesting a waiver just to clarify the fact that we're building the project on the entire site. Article 7 is special requirements, inclusionary zoning. We're requesting a waiver from that provision because that's designed for dealing with projects that are including affordable units when you're dealing with conventional zoning, but under 40B, obviously our affordability requirements are going to be much more stringent. So we're requesting a waiver from those requirements. And then Article 9 dealing with procedures. These are again administrative waivers similar to ones that we requested and were granted for 47 Main. And they're dealing with administrative procedures. Basically, where building and structures are only allowed to be constructed in accordance with the zoning bylaw. And then, and in terms of enforcement, and then also there's the provisions for the grants of special permits as well. That's included. And then lastly is site plan approval, which we're requested to be waived because essentially we're going through a site plan approval process before the board currently. And lastly was just a catch-all provision for any bond, surety, or building permit fees and so on. And again, those are to be, I understand, discussed by Kevin and the board and the town as to what would be appropriate in that circumstance. And that's all I had for the waivers. Happy to answer any questions.
Repeat what you said about the stormwater requirements at the beginning.
Sorry, could you state that again?
You said something about withdrawing the waiver for stormwater requirements.
Oh, the stormwater,
Because
yes,
they're just
yes.
looking
Yeah, there was a, the stormwater bylaw includes an exemption from the applicability of requiring a stormwater permit when the Conservation Commission issues a wetlands order of conditions, which complies with the Mass Stormwater Management Standards and the town's management bylaw. So essentially, it's it's being covered by the Conservation Commission order of conditions. It's just not requiring both the stormwater permit separate and apart from the order of conditions.
That doesn't need a waiver.
Not as concerned.
That's correct. We would not need a
Um,
waiver in this
Have they
circumstance.
issued that order?
Just closed the public hearing, so.
Yeah, I think they should have it by the time.
Two things to Mike. My first question is gonna be, if you've had time to go through all of these, if they're within what you would have expected, professional planner, and secondly, you had brought up an interesting point. You were questioning about the turning radius on the driveway for
Oh, yeah.
ladder trucks versus ambulance. If you can.
So, Mr. Chair, we do have Dave Glenn from Stantec here, but since we're on the, I mean, that's
Just know that I want to have
yeah,
the answers to those two things.
okay. But so
Excellent.
regarding the waivers, yeah, and as Attorney Smolak described all the waivers, they all seem to make sense. You know, a lot of them I feel don't even apply to this development, but because they don't apply, I don't feel the need to not waive them, you know what I mean? So I think it's okay to waive. A couple of notes that I made for myself that you may want to work into the decision document, if it's not already in it, is there was a mention of clean fill. I think we did make a condition on the last one regarding clean fill, so I'd recommend bringing that over here. We're waiving that through the local.
There's a heck of a pile down there from the state already. I don't know who's gonna get that in the end, but that might make a good berm. But we have always had a thing about the fill being clean and inspected, and that wasn't a problem last time.
And then the dust and odor, that provision is explicitly exclusive to business uses in town. For you have a bylaw for essentially nuisances. But it's in your bylaw, it's written that it is businesses and commercial uses cannot generate noise, odor, and dust. That is a nuisance to the neighbors, right? So that doesn't necessarily apply to this, but I just want to highlight that that doesn't obviously waive DEP regulations for dust, as we've recently learned in the for that. So DEP regulations would still apply for keeping a clean construction site and watering down disturbed soil so that dust clouds don't form and coat the neighboring homes.
New one they're doing, I don't know how much lead you hit back there, but I'm like 250 feet from you guys. Mike's probably closer. How much lead you've had to pound out of there? Man, have I,
And then lastly, the schedule, the phasing of the development. Again, because this is an affordable housing project, I believe in that provision of that bylaw, it would exempt this development anyway from that, but nonetheless, fine to waive it because I think it's already exempt from that provision.
Okay, are you guys okay with Mike starting to structure a document that would include these?
Yeah, I just have one other question on the administration, on the enforcement and penalties. I understand the way the bylaw is written. I understand why they're asking for a waiver because they can't be held to the exact provisions of the bylaw. But it does seem odd to waive the penalties in their entirety rather than waive them to the extent that they're in compliance with the comprehensive permit, because that penalties provision is one of our few ways of enforcement.
Which section is that? So I can bring it up.
That's 300-9.1C.
I mean, that certainly wasn't the intent to waive enforcement. Only to modify the enforcement based on the zoning bylaw as modified by the waivers.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah. So if we write it up that way, I think that's fine.
All right, I just want to make sure you guys are all fully. Questions, Mike, any more questions? You're good?
Oh, I would just make mention, regarding the request to waive fees, I will get that in front of DPW for an opinion to you on that.
Yeah.
Assuming you want that.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the board to make a decision. I do have to chuckle because I've never seen someone take over the land, so much land for so much. Is it appropriate to get the opinion of Stantec, because I think he's not for the waivers, but for the back and forth with the engineering stuff. If we can get,
You have it, Paul?
oh, fine, don't worry about it.
Sure.
He's, I've got, yeah, he gave me a copy. Okay.
John,
Okay, thank you, John.
thank you, John. You're good.
Thank you,
David,
David.
you want to, kind of two things at once. If this is, we're okay with the waivers, everyone seems to be nodding. If you want to give us your piece on where you are on the, thank you. Oh, geez.
We did get a letter to the board today, apologize for it being today, but we were sort of going back and forth. Some items and questions, so we were getting information through today, so, but we're not going back and forth. I appreciate that, the back and forth with everyone, keep the conversation going. But there's still a few comments we had in a report that I'd like to point out to the board. I think on page 2, we had a general comment on the project that's being done now, the public project out there.
Yes.
I provided the plan to Mike. I don't want to bring that up.
Sure.
And one of the comments we had is on that plan, that Mass DOT plan, is they do show a drain line running in a new permanent easement adjacent to the property.
Mhm.
And it doesn't show up on the applicant's plan.
So it needs to.
Well, I guess one, I don't know if it's there or not. I mean, it's going by the Mass DOT plan that shows a 12-inch drain line. The head wall is pretty close to where one of their stormwater basins is. It's also shown now in a permanent easement, which is not currently an easement that's on the property now. That easement is pretty close to where one of their stormwater basins is going to be.
Mhm.
So there may be a potential conflict with the easement with one of the stormwater basins infrastructure, which I'm sure Mass DOT doesn't want something like that on there right away. So
Yeah.
it's just a few, so I guess it's really just for clarity purposes to really show some of those, the easement and the drain line. If it is there, like I said, it's shown on the Mass DOT plan. Have that put on the plan so it gives them more clarity, and it may require some modifications. Again, I'm not sure on maybe their stormwater system.
It's a little tight in that corner. You gotta
There's a
get,
lot going on, man.
there is, and they gotta get that turning radius correct for those ladder trucks too. All right, we'll keep our eye on that one.
Yeah, I know Peter said he actually was gonna go out there and see if that drain line is there. I'm just going by the plans that show you.
I'm hoping that you have had as positive time working with you guys. There were a lot of small issues in your last report, and I don't see as many of those here. So it sounds like they're getting those things corrected.
Right, I mean, probably maybe about a half a dozen comments, but some of them I just planned, and it's like this item here is probably one of the more important ones, at least in our view, that the information should be shown on there, and if it requires some modifications to the plan, we've got it done now, if required the construction.
Yep.
Couple other comments we had. Again, we're sort of deferring to the DPW on the water design and the sewer design, see if there town requirements on that. We did have a comment on the sewer design, separation between water and sewer. We weren't sure if that separation was being maintained, 10-foot separation, 18-inch vertical, so we just pointed that out, but again, deferred to the DPW. So that the plans would get that as a real concern. We did have a comment too on the truck turn and dimensions for the fire apparatus.
That's a huge.
There was a plan submitted. Normally when you do the turning movements, you provide a template of the vehicle. We can actually see what that vehicle is on the turning radius. They didn't provide a template of the vehicle, so one was we want to see the turning radius they show. What is that vehicle template?
Yeah,
And then second point would be, once they show that, is that acceptable to the fire department?
yeah, because the one I saw, was that the one with all the red boxes?
Yeah.
You know, that definitely looked more like an ambulance than the ladder truck.
I was measuring it, Dave. I think you measured it as well using a scale. It was probably something like 28 feet or around 30 feet.
20 to 38 degrees. So, and again, I don't know what the town's fire apparatus is. I assume it's larger than that. But again,
One thing is if you see a problem coming down the road, 9 out of 10 times it'll turn off before it gets to you.
Mr. Chairman, I did reach out to the fire department regarding that and just confirming that they would want to see a 48-foot ladder truck.
Okay.
100-foot ladder truck, 48 feet in size is their, that's apparently what they use. So I asked, you know, looking at that, I'll try to bring it up, looking at that truck simulation plan, I don't think that, I'm not an engineer, but you know, we'll show it. I suspect that making that turn around that center aisle is not going to work, but
Yeah.
they likely could drive straight in, depending on like, you know, if it's either one of the rear buildings on the site, they could probably pull straight in and then straight out. But I asked that question to, yeah, I asked that question to the fire department, so I'm waiting for a response on that.
And they're definitely gonna want to be able to get that ladder truck right up next to all 3 buildings. I don't think the one on the right would be an issue. I don't think the one on the left would be the big issue. I think it would be the one in the middle would be the big issue. If we can get that all squared away before the next meeting, because that has to be done. That's something we're really always on. But yeah, turning radius, okay. Did you get all the profiles that you wanted?
Yes.
Good.
profiles came in. We did want a little more information on the accessible space dimensions and signage that should be added to the plan. There's a summary table that shows all the required setbacks and heights and so forth and so on. Some of that information was included on the plan, but you'll notice in the waivers, they were actually asking for waivers for some of those. But to me, I just thought if it's on the plan, then it's on the plan and the board can see whether was sort of showing that waiver request, so it's sort of a duplicate requirement. Few comments on the stormwater. Minor comment, size of the riprap at one of the outfalls, show the dimension of it. Couple comments on the actual HydroCAD analysis. The total classification out there, it's a B. So they did address that, but when they did the drawdown analysis for the basins, they have to drain within so many hours. They still weren't using the correct classification, which is a soil B, they're using a soil A. So it's just a matter of redoing the calculations. I think they're still going to be within the required 72 hours, but it's just they're using the wrong.
Let's make it right.
The other comment would be on groundwater monitoring for some of the basins. Couple of the basins did have groundwater out there. I mean, I believe it was 8 feet, but the stormwater standards, if you're less than 4 feet and you're using the basin to require your peak flows to be attenuated, you got to do a groundwater mounting analysis. So we're requesting a groundwater analysis. I think on 2 of the basins out there, because they do have the 2 feet, but they don't have the 4 feet. Yeah. But when they're running the analysis, they're taking credit for peak flow being attenuated. So it requires the groundwater mounting. So don't get the groundwater.
Yeah, come on. Put water somewhere where it's already full.
Little bit comments on some of the cross sections. They show like a typical cross section from the vendor, like a 3-chamber, but they have like a 5 or 6 foot wide. So we're just saying, show what you get
Show what you really gotta put in, yeah.
Don't show a typical, so that's really just dating the process.
Now, is there, I'm assuming the maintenance on those basins would be taken over by the development?
Yeah.
Not the town? Okay, so.
Yeah, same as it was for the new.
Okay, just want to make sure that does get into the development, those things, there'll be like some sort of maintenance plan.
Yeah, they provide a maintenance plan for it.
They don't work if they're not maintained, right?
Requesting a little more documentation. They have a water quality unit or storm septic unit, looking for some more documentation on that. Provide the water quality volume and then the storm standard. And then, just, restating that they have agreed to provide a stormwater pollution prevention plan to the board prior to construction, that they're all more than 1 acre, so that's required. So basically just restating that, that's gonna be provided to the board. And then we did ask for some additional erosion control along some of the perimeter of the site. It looks like they started to show it, but it's not really labeled all that well, so we asked, we further clarified to show the actual limits of the property.
If you keep working with them to get the clarified up to your the standards that we as a town should
Yeah.
hold them to,
Sure.
that would be great, we really appreciate it. I think you're trying to put this to bed in July or August.
You don't need to do it on my behalf. It's
Well,
whatever
I
you're
just want to make sure that things move along in a
Yeah.
timely manner,
I mean, again, based on how it's been progressing, and this has progressed pretty quickly, obviously, there's one major outstanding item that's really everybody's concern. But everything else, I mean, these are engineering details that Stantec has identified. I don't think they're world changing as far as the site plan and design of the plan. I mean, we'll see with regard to the drainage pipe that they've noted for the DOT plans.
These
I don't think
documents
the
are
truck,
all on the public page.
They are,
So people
yes.
Can look at them. I'm gonna just check with all of you guys, make sure that you've had my look at all these. And,
Yeah, I looked at them.
okay,
Yeah, one thing I haven't seen is the design for the signage that was asked about earlier. Is that in our
that's in the
documents?
original plan set. So
Okay.
it's towards the end, and it should be in the updated plan set as well.
Okay.
And it's mentioned in item 5 of that huge paragraph.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna hate myself, but it's always important. I want to ask if the neighbors have taken the opportunity to look at any of these waivers or concerns that have been brought up tonight. To find out if you have any. I know the stormwater is one that's a concern down in that area, it's the bottom of the hill. But I didn't know if any of you had taken an opportunity to look at these things and had any questions that you brought forth to the table that you would like answered. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I was just wondering, if, in the peer review, they made a comment, I think, regarding, the flow of water to 41 Milford Street. That's-
Through the chair,
Yeah.
Dave, was there a comment regarding flow of water onto 40th Street that can be addressed?
Or is it, about it to
Yeah,
the right?
to the, standing from 140 to the right, yeah.
Right, that was brought up in our last peer review, and the applicant has addressed that.
Okay.
He redid his stormwater analysis. He looked at the flow going to that property, there's less flow going to that property now than
Yeah.
interesting. So that was addressed in the revised stormwater.
So there's less flow going to that property as a result of the proposed changes, updates in the revised plans.
Good. That's what we like to hear. And then the neighbors like to hear that too.
Actually, might want to add that same area, the Mansfield heat plant did show a couple of catch basins at that low point. Now, I don't know if they're there or not.
Okay.
I think the last meeting, they were showing flooding in that area. If you look at the plan, it's showing.
That's okay.
Happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's definitely been some water there in the past. But if they put in everything that they said they would, we can hold these guys to everything that's in these plans.
Right.
Kind of hard to get the state to.
Yeah, he's pointing out that they're doing work there, so if there's an issue, now's
Good
now's
time
the
to
time
catch it.
to, give him a call.
Right.
Yeah.
There are gonna be new basin, one in front of my house.
Yeah.
One across the street, but I also just wondered, on like the building C. Like, what is the setback, it's where I missed what the section. But what is the setback? Formerly, I and Bond had, where that pond used to be, that was wetlands there, so I'm just. I can't tell when I look at it, like how far away the property line is.
Yeah.
It was 2030.
So one of the item points I heard that got mentioned is conservation is gonna require you guys to put up those wetland posts. I need to put that up at the Motto Farm. And I had to do them on my property and they'll have to do them. They're like 6x6 concrete posts with a blue wetland placard on the top of them. And that will have to go, I don't know what the spacing is, probably like every 100 feet along that whole border of where that wetland set off point is. So it'll be very easily delineated. I think the big issue is when they mow the grass, they're not supposed to throw all the leaves and the grass into the wetland areas.
Wonder, like, on the other side, there's.
Should be something right up there.
I'll try to bring it up. I was just, it was easier to flip me to the paper plans. Through the chair, building C looks like there is 12.2 feet from the Hollerbrook property, 41 Milford, to the edge of the deck. And it is 20.3 feet to the rear of the building from to the property line. And that's the side lot line. Let me see if I can bring this up so it's easier for people to see. Just give me a minute.
I can guarantee you that the conservation will be close to hearing with us putting houses in the wetlands.
Yeah.
And Bill, they're making us do the bounds every 20, we agreed, no problem, but every 25 feet.
Okay, yeah.
So there'll be no question on where the wetland line
Yeah.
is, we're done.
Yeah, 25 feet's pretty still. He must have not made them happy or something. I only had to put 3 on my property. Yeah, they're probably like every 50 feet. Fortunately, invaded by invasive plants, they actually gave me permission to go in there and kill them. And I was like, I'm not going in there. Like, no, you can. It's like, okay.
They have to be accurate within 100 foot.
The thing I like is with the engineer on the water, stormwater, is that pretty much every project we see is they're actually reducing how much water comes off the property. They're not required to not have water coming off the property, but they are required to make it be no more than it currently is. And that's the standard the law goes by. And generally, he has exceeded that. I saw that the very first thing you did over, literally the first thing you did over the new one was to put in your basins. I was very happy to see that. When are they going to be done with getting rid of all that? Are they done with getting all that?
Yeah, but we promised, we want to make sure that that site is stabilized and we've got everything under control before we start to go vertical, so.
It will be definitely on a solid foundation.
Yes.
Of rock.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to make more. All right, sir, are there any other concerns that we should be aware of?
No, I think that's really, I think, there's just a few items that need to be addressed, and like I said, I don't think there's any real breakthroughs here, but it's something that I thought the board should be aware of.
Well, thank you for working and going through all this stuff. Thank you for working with them and just coming to us with the solutions and having it all cleaned up and ahead of time. And I appreciate that from the developer also, that he's working with you. It makes for a much improved process if it's not completely adversarial.
Right, I agree.
Fortunately, with this particular set is you say, please do this, and they do it, which works pretty good. but you haven't had expensive things yet, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
All right, Mike, are you guys?
I guess, you know, speak for Mike, I guess, you know, maybe the next meeting, I can work with Mike and Attorney Smolak, and we, you know, start to write up what the order conditions can look like. Obviously, you're gonna, you know, get the engineer and done, and, you know, we can work to where the board felt comfortable next meeting and they wanted to close, we could do that. Obviously, if there's some other issue or something else that comes up, we're fine to, you know, put it to August if the board has time. So
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, Mike, if you feel the same way, but we're at the point where we start to get the order conditions in a document that people can, you know.
Yeah, and we want them sufficiently rigorous and enforceable. All right, so we'll look down the board, make sure any other questions, comments, concerns, Bob? Eric?
Not tonight.
Question for the Lotuses, which I don't think we can require this, but I would very much like to know if you could install level 2 charging outlets for EVs in the garages. Because installing them ab initio is so much easier than these people with very times have to do. So,
Yeah, so the new building code requires that all of our garages are equipped with that charger.
level 2, I looked at the voting code, I didn't see it, but.
Yeah, they have to be pre-wired. They
Yeah,
don't,
it's pre-wired and then it's just plug and play.
With a
Yeah.
50 amp breaker.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's all dedicated.
I'm very happy to hear that.
yeah, they have to be solar ready, meaning that you have to have like a 1-inch conduit up. to
Yeah,
the
I
roof.
wasn't gonna do it, but you asked.
It's been 30 years, every car.
Yeah, I mean,
This is a PVC and you get from those.
it's so much cheaper to put it in ahead of time.
Yeah, and especially people here with low income. But BYD changes the standards again.
Yeah, so I think every new building has to have that and be solar ready.
I did.
And I think the new HERS rating is 45 for a new building.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was 45.
50 amp breaker.
Yeah, that's, for the, I was happy when I hit 37. I was joyous. And that was before I put the solar on. So we're trying for 0. All right, any, Mr. Lopez, or is there any other concerns that you want to bring forth that you have? Okay, do I need a motion on this, Mike, to go off to the next segment? Because I know
No.
we have minutes.
You have until September 14th for this public hearing. I would just make note for the record that you'll meet next on this. Bring it up. Thank you, July 15th, 6:30 here. I imagine will likely be in here.
Yeah.
So
13th was it?
the 15th.
I will probably be phoning that one in, just as an FYI, because I will be up in Maine.
There's a potential that I will be too, but that's,
So that'll be fun.
we can conduct hearings without me.
No, exactly.
Not really.
No, we can't.
May or may not. It'll be, I'll make sure you're.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question on the process on those waivers?
Yes, sir.
Is the review period for that over, or is there time to review it and get feedback in at the next?
I have had a policy always asking the neighbors.
Yeah, I didn't do it ahead of time, so I'm asking.
Yeah, no, you certainly can look through them.
So there is still time.
Absolutely, and we will open it up again for questions, concerns.
Okay.
I think particularly, I know she's been very concerned with the stormwater and completely legitimate questions about it. So you certainly can look at those. You will probably can go in the public record and look at them for the last couple buildings too. They don't seem to be substantially different from the ones in the past. We have also made sure that there's a lot of, like the buffers for line of sight for trees and stuff like that. We like to make
On the sidewalk issue, so how is that gonna get concluded, since it's not a zoning bylaw required, it seems to be the objective versus subjective opinion of safety of the board? How is that ruling or whatever it's called gonna come?
Yeah, that would be written up as a condition that would be put in the comprehensive permit if we're going to require it. So what'll happen is we will ask Michael at some point to prepare a draft of the comprehensive permit with the conditions that we expect to be included in it. And then none of that will be done until the final hearing on this, when we vote on it. And the board could vote to keep that in, to remove it. But that's one of the final.
So sorry for the process question.
No.
Does that have
No.
to be unanimous within the board?
No.
Yeah.
What is it? Majority or 2/3 or?
Just majority. Um,
And so don't have to provide any objective evidence that it's the superior decision?
No.
Okay, so just purely what you feel like doing.
there's always a threat of appeal. So you always try to make sure that you can justify.
Yeah,
Or
the
judge
reason I
what you're
said
gonna
that
do.
way. Dick had a good letter pointing out all the places where there was a lack of empirical data showing that that was the safer option. Yet, other than the gentleman on the left, it seemed to be overwhelming that everyone thought that that was a better way to go, but no evidence exists to support that. So that's why I'm wondering.
The gray zone in this area is that boards, particularly in 40B, have the opportunity to negotiate with the developer for things that they want in the project. And that we can put that, we always do, it's a democracy like everything else. And we do include the board members and we'll make that decision at that time. You know, I think we have a sense of where it's likely. What I would really love to see is if we do go that direction, that you guys have some list of remediations thought of ahead of time. Because it you know, it can be something dumb, you know, like, you know, 6-foot fence or a 10-foot fence, whatever. I know one
But
of
you
the
can't build a
remediations,
6-foot fence there because there's not enough setback to do it, so you need another.
fences can be right on the property line. Yes, and so driveways and fences can be right on the property line. There's also on south of the property, there's an earthen berm, would you call it? There's an earthen berm with who's going on the top. I think that was in the original plan, if I remember. If I'm wrong.
And a fence.
And a fence. So there is going to be some fencing in there. But I would rather that there be some remediations for you folks. If that's going to happen, it's a decision of the board. It's not my decision. It's a board decision.
Procedure, Mr. Chairman, if
Yep.
the developer doesn't accept that condition, and you deny him the permit?
40Bs generally would go before the state if we deny it. And I don't want to say the gentleman from the state at the first meeting that I attended, site visit that I attended, I don't want to say he was giddy, but he thought that the permit would be a very good thing. Having the state say that something should be less walkable, I can't foresee that, but should it go before an appeal, I'm sure that there would be people willing to speak on both sides of that appeal.
And the general public, they're only, like myself, my only recourse would be Superior Court, correct?
It's expensive. The other thing that's to be noted is the public hearing part is what is the next, we still have work to do. Stan Tech and the things have got to get worked out. But we can choose to make the final decision when we close the public hearing, but we don't have to make it that night. What's the timeline on that, Mike?
Wait, 40 days, I think it is.
I think that's right.
I have it on the,
9/14.
no, he's asking after 9/14, the
9/14 is the date by which we have to close the hearing, but then we've got a period of.
I believe it's, yeah,
Yeah, so there is a,
40 days. I have it all posted on the website. So from 9/14, assuming that would be the close of the public hearing, you have 40 days to issue the actual decision, which assuming that would be 10/24. Again, as was discussed earlier tonight, Mr. Chair, I doubt we get that far, but
yeah.
surely that's your limit.
Yeah, we have a time limit, but I think on the last one, we got everything worked out. I'm not even sure we put it off to the next meeting. Did we? Or did we vote for it?
Oh, you last,
We extended it 2 or 3, so there were some gaps, there were some meetings I showed up just to continue it, but it got extended.
Yeah.
2 or 3
It's still
times.
extended many times, Mr. Chair, but through that process, you kept the public hearing open up until making a decision, and that was a suggestion.
Then we made
from
the
your
decision.
special counsels,
Yeah.
procedurally.
Yeah, okay. So that's generally how it's gonna go in terms of the decision making. Yeah, no problem. It's good questions. And it's good for all of us to get clarified too, because you have to follow these guidelines. Okay, so do I need a motion to?
Yeah, I would just motion to continue anyway.
I move to continue the hearing on 45 Milford Street to the next meeting on July 15th, 2026.
So second it.
Sorry. Oh, second, David Brooks, second and I.
There you go. Second line. Aye.
Aye.
Both views, aye.
Okay, thank you guys and thank everybody. We have a minute to approve, minutes to approve from last meeting. We'll get all of our homework done tonight. I feel, how many times is 473 pocket that I have to come? God.
Learn to do the minimum.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
I saw that.
We just don't want to, in all honesty, we feel it's a burden to you. We don't want to burden you.
If there's certain, like the conditions on, these are points we talked about, but with most of those applications last month, there were no questions, there were no arguments, we just kind of.
Check the OML and you can see how many literally you can get away with. I was secretary of the check this year.
Yeah.
I want to thank everyone for your patience tonight. I hope that went somewhat according to. We tried.
Mike said you said 8 o'clock. Yeah, well, yeah, I said 8:30. That was my guess.
Guys, look at the days, we can at 8 o'clock.
I read the minutes, I'm happy to get some revision minutes updated, whichever is needed.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Minute for you. Aye.
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 Oh, and for the record, the minutes should be all posted now. I didn't realize entirely my fault. I didn't give Lena proper instruction on
Place.
Oh,
how
okay.
to post the minutes. So they were all available on through the document center for the public to view, but they weren't
Yeah.
in the specific.
Excellent. Bob, thank you for joining tonight. Sorry, I should
It's
have
okay.
asked you specific questions. It's just hard. Yeah, he's been there the
That's all
whole
right.
time. I feel
I
bad.
had,
Joined
well,
us.
had trouble with the link.
Thank
You know what? It really does. When you're in the room, it's a little easier to see and get your opinion and stuff. I actually have a very hard time hearing in these big echoey rooms.
I had a hard time.
Yeah, I remember that.
Couldn't
Yeah,
hear anything.
yeah.
Downstairs is better if we can manage it, but this is too big of a crowd.
Too big a crowd. No, I agree with you. All right, are we ready for a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I move that we adjourn.
There we go. Second.
Second motion to adjourn.
Okay. Aye.
Oh, both views, aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Thank you both.